Hey guys, and welcome back. So I realized I couldn't make a course about the London without showing the following game. And this game features a line which has been very annoying for white over the years. And I think in the early days, a lot of people didn't play the London because of the line that we'll see. So what I want to show is I have a nice recommendation for black, how to play against the London. And then in the next lesson, we'll go over kind of how to meet this line with another demonstrative game. So the game I'll show is between Juan Carlos Gonzalez Zamor, playing white, against Victor Lajnika, who's a very strong grandmaster from the Czech Republic. And the game starts out as a very normal London: d4, d5, bishop f4, knight f6, e3, c5, c3, knight c6. And now in this position, after white plays knight f3, we have what seems like a very classical London setup for both sides. But it turns out white has already perhaps made a mistake with allowing this move order. Because after black's next move, queen b6, white is under immediate pressure. And it's my recommendation to anyone who plays a London as white, you should not go into this line, and that's what we'll cover in the next lesson. But for now, we'll see how queen b6 can be pretty strong and quite annoying for white to deal with. So if we look at white's options here, pawn on b2 is clearly attacked, and white will normally go with this move queen b3, probably one of the most expected moves in the position to defend the pawn. I should mention that a move like b3 is a bit weakening and gives black really no problems after something like c take d4, c take d4. Black can even be better here after something like bishop f5, and with a very simple plan of e6 and bishop b4. White has some weaknesses on the queen side, given that white has already committed to b3. The dark squares can be potentially weak. So going back, we'll focus on queen b3 as it's the most common move. And here black will continue the initiative and play pawn c4. Very thematic move. And sometimes the reverse situation can happen where white is the one going for this sort of structure by playing c4 and c5 earlier, which we'll see later in the course. But for now, white's queen is attacked, and white has a choice between taking on b6 and dropping back to c2. I will mention that if queen take b6 is played, it typically gives black a very pleasant position with the half-open a file, more space on the queen side, potential plans with b5, b4. And I've played this line many times as black, and the development and the middle game plans are quite natural, and it's a bit more unpleasant for white to play. So in this game, white played queen c2, keeping the b pawn defended, avoiding any queen trade, and now black has another very powerful move here, bishop to f5, taking advantage of the fact that the white queen is tied down to the b2 pawn, and queen take f5 would just be a blunder, because after queen take b2, the rook on a1 is just falling. So going back, bishop f5 is just a nice developing move, gaining time. White has to retreat, queen c1 played. And in this position, I really liked Victor Lajnika's approach, where I think a lot of players would play something like e6 and just complete development and castle. But Lajnika went for a much more ambitious, a much more immediate plan. He played this move knight h5, which is, of course, something very typical that the white player has to be aware of in the London. And in this case, black is essentially guaranteeing the trade of knight for bishop. And it's a very beneficial trade for black, as we'll see going forward into the middle game, because the two bishops can be quite powerful later on when the position opens up. So going forward here, white played bishop g3, and then another nice move from black, pawn f6, which we don't see every day, especially so early, especially when the black king is still in the center. But the idea for black is that because the position, because black is about to get the bishop pair, anytime black can take on g3, black wants to open up the position. And the obvious plan is pawn e5, and if there's more open lines that can become available, then the bishops can be a lot more powerful, and this can lead to a lot more tactical opportunities, as we'll see later. So going forward, knight b d2, pawn e5, wasting no time. after d take e5, it is important that that black makes the right capture here, because e5 is currently defended twice. It is necessary that black now takes on g3. And then after h take g3, knight take e5. And going forward from here, black already has very nice pieces, centralized, more space. White is a bit cramped, and it's not that easy to play like a good move for white, as there's so little space to work with. What white did in the game is knight take e5, which is perhaps the best try. And then after pawn take e5, white went for this immediate pawn e4, trying to completely destabilize black's structure in the center, attacking the bishop, attacking the pawn, and trying to weaken or get rid of the d5 pawn so he can win the c4 pawn. Now the problem, or the big problem for white after playing pawn e4, is the fact that white's king is in the center, and this is a common theme that we'll see. When the center opens up and the opponent's king is still in the center, it's usually an opportunity to attack and look for tactics. And in this position, black played a very simple and subtle move, very simple bishop to g6, keeping all the tension and realizing that it's still going to take some time for white to attempt to win these pawns. And after white's next move, e take d5, black had the very powerful bishop c5. And as hopefully you're beginning to see, black is seizing the initiative. And after bishop c5, the pawn on f2 is just undefendable. A move like f3 could be played, wasn't played in this game. That just walks into bishop f2 check, forcing something like king to d1, and then black can happily take the pawn on g3 with just such a good position, ready to castle, get a rook to d8, and exploit white's king on d1. So going back here, it seemed a bit shaky for black, but after bishop c5, black has everything to play for. Going forward in this game, white's position just fell apart really quickly after knight takes c4, bishop take f2, intermediate move, forcing the king to e2, and then another nice move from black, queen to f6, keeping the bishop defended, controlling the open f-file, and white's position is just a mess here, the king being on e2, most of the pieces being on the back rank, completely out of play. White went for this tactical attempt. White took on e5 with the idea that if queen take e5, then white could take on f2 and then perhaps be surviving. But Lajnika played the very simple kingside castle, getting the rook to f8, increasing pressure along the f-file, and also opening up the square for the other rook on e8. And as we'll see, after knight takes g6, rook a e8, just going for the initiative. And after king d3, black was on the way to convert the position. I'll go ahead and show the finish. I will say that black's technique maybe wasn't the best, and black could have won maybe a bit quicker, but what black did was good enough. After rook e4, continue attacking the king, and then bishop e3, and after queen to e1, rook f2, black's pieces are just crawling all over white. White had to take the rook, and after winning the queen, it was a pretty smooth path to victory for black. So going back in this game, it seemed like white didn't make too many obvious mistakes. The key point is after queen b6, going forward here, all of white's moves were natural. It was just a matter of black seizing the initiative. And we can see this can be very important in the opening, especially if you can be the one not only improving the position, but while attacking your opponent. It's a powerful combination. And basically every move from black around this point had some very direct and an aggressive idea. And black really never let go of the grip on white in this game. So going back to the opening, I do want to give just a quick preview for the next lesson. White should not allow this position, and going back, it's a matter of choosing the right move order. Now, if it's white to move in this position, the best move to play is not knight f3, but knight to d2. And what this does is it prevents the rook from being trapped in certain lines. So if we imagine black continues with queen b6, white could actually go for the same line, queen b3, and then after c4, queen c2, bishop f5 would not be playable because the rook is not getting trapped. Bishop f5 would just be a blunder because queen takes c4, queen take b2, and then the rook can simply move to b1. So that's one possible way for white to meet this line, where this position is actually very fine for white, as e4 is a looming idea in the position. Another idea that we'll see is, instead of playing this early c3, white could play knight f3 first, and then after knight f6, white can play knight bd2. And this is what we're going to see in the next lesson, a very nice game from Wei Yi. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.